Welcome back to another episode of Transformation Talks. I'm your host, Sam Forget, and today we'll be joined by our first ever three-time guest, my very good friend Adam Martin, who you may remember from earlier episodes as the No Breakfast Guy. Adam is an accredited exercise physiologist, an Amazon best-selling author, and most importantly, a husband and father. Adam, appreciate you coming on today, brother.
Rock and roll. Good to be back. It's good to see your face again. It's been a while since obviously I dragged you over to our lovely country here, and unfortunately, you had to pull from that beautiful country that you're now in, pulling you back a little bit harder than I could hold the strings onto Australia. But yeah, really good to see your face, mate.
Yeah, same here. And as I told you over the last few weeks, for whatever reason, well, I can think of several reasons, Australia's been very top of mind for me again. I don't get me wrong, I love Argentina. I don't know if it's the nomad in me that just once I start to feel settled, I start to have my eyes on other things. So Argentina is great, but I would not rule Australia out again in the future. So we'll see what happens there.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds good.
Before we dive in, and as I think most people who are listening to this already know, today's episode, well, I guess it'll be in the title as well, so this was dumb. But as many people will know who are coming over from social media, this episode focus will be on GLP-1s. But before we get into that, last time you came on the show was 3 years ago. So perhaps people have followed along with, me staying with you and interactions on social media, my appearances on your show. But on the off chance somebody listening has been out of the loop with you since 2022. Can you kind of give us a bulleted what you've been doing the last few years and where you're at now?
Um, it's been a turbulent couple of years, more mentally than anything, just purely because I guess 3 years ago I turned 40, it's cliche in that maybe I'm going through a midlife crisis kind of thing, but I don't think it's kind of that extreme, but just more so. Again, I don't know if this is cliche, but as men, kind of trying to be the best that we can be and you kind of shared that business owner, and I've done quite a bit in my kind of career and whatnot, but for the most part, I consider myself a father and a husband, mostly, and those things are kind of secondary. But that's just kind of been weighing up what that balance looks like in my life over the last few years, and kind of I've stood back a lot from the business world because my wife has now really kind of gone hammer and tong into her career to try and really kind of push her career, and I've taken a step back so that she can do that and take care of the household a bit more. And so that kind of internal dialogue has just been running in my head at overtime of I should be a better financial supporter. But then I talked to my wife. She said, nah, the fact that you're with our girls and that I can come home and it's a stress-free environment because the house is taken care of, the girls are taken care of. I've got no worries. I can be at work and really kind of lock in there. And when I come home, it's a peaceful environment kind of thing. No, keep doing you. But I just should I do more? And then I try and do a bit more. Again, in those last couple of years, I went and got a mortgage broking certificate, tried that for literally a month and was like, get me the fuck out of here. This is horrible. And then I went and got an actual job for the first time in my entire life, had a boss, someone I was working for, an employee. And again, I lasted a week. And it's like, this is horrible. Like anyone who does the 9 to 5 job for a career, my hat off to you. Like running a business is difficult, as you all know, but like a 9 to 5 employee, I couldn't do it. And so I've come back into being a father and kind of being more accepting of that role. And I don't want this to come off kind of too blasé, but I'm just a father now. I don't kind of just go over that so lightly, but I'm just a father now, and I love that. And whatever work comes my way, I've kind of just put some feelers out in the world of taking on a little bit more kind of work with my business. And if that comes, great. But I'm not searching for it anymore and kind of longing for it, because I've probably asked my wife 487 times, are you sure you don't want me providing more finance? She's like, please just shut up. Keep being with our girls. Keep taking it late. And so I feel very confident that my wife is settled with what she wants to do. I'm settled with what I want to do. And we feel really stable and balanced with the kind of world that we have. So that should have been a bit more dot pointed. I apologize. But yeah, that's kind of where my head has kind of gone up, down, left, right, kind of over the last couple of years.
No, no. Again, I think for anybody who's been out of the loop for the last few years, that's because honestly, a lot of people listening to this, they might still think of you as the no breakfast guy, or is that the guy who says good morning on his Instagram stories every morning? And actually, and you know this is coming, and before we get into it, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to put you to work. We did have a question box and said, hey, what do you want to know about GLP-1s or anything else? And somebody did say, not GLP related, but can we get a signature good morning from Adam?
Does it need to be the whole thing, or do you want just the good morning?
I- I'll let you off the hook. Just the good morning is fine.
It feels weird to doing it directly. I've normally just got my phone on
Directly
my
to
hand, knowing.
camera.
But all right, I'll rip in for you. The girls are kind of going down, but they're not down to sleep yet. So I was just like, good morning.
No, it's so funny. I can pick up from there and say, hope you have a fantastic day. Have the best day ever. Like all of the things that come next. And for anybody who has absolutely no clue what we're talking about, that is what you showed up on your Instagram story with every morning for how long?
It was 5, maybe 6 years.
5 years. That's crazy. And obviously, like hit with a lot of people, just that energy, that positivity in the morning. We're now in 2026. People are still like, hey, can you do that thing you did in 2018,
Yeah,
2019? So thank you for humoring us.
more than
And
happy to.
actually, let's fast forward to this calendar year. I guess these are somewhat related. Earlier this year, and you shared this on your podcast that I came on, you got the cancer diagnosis. So obviously, enormously weighty from a mental perspective. You mentioned just how challenging the last few years have been mentally. That obviously exacerbated things. And then jumping ahead to more recently, going on a GLP-1, managing weight, overall health, and preparation for the surgery. So I won't over explain beyond that, but could you kind of hone in on, I guess, call it the last 10 to 12 months or so, where you've been at from like a personal health perspective? And I think that'll make a really good segue for, the whole GLP-1 conversation.
Sure. So yeah, February, I got some blood work done. PSA reading came back, which is just a blood marker for the first kind of stepping stone of if that's elevated, let's investigate more. And PSA is a score that looks at, prostate, I guess, activity from there. And it was elevated. I got a family history of it. Pretty much every male in my life has had it. Not never died from it, but has had it. And so, yeah, just followed up from there and got the diagnosis that I got prostate cancer. Luckily, very, very early. So early, in fact, that the doctor suggested that we can just kind of keep it at bay and just survey it over the next few years. And if it kind of jumps, we'll kind of look at it from there. And so I started initially doing that, but then my own research brain went into overdrive. Okay, I got to look into this. How many men have it? What do they normally die of? Do they die in 2 years after diagnosis if they're kind of just looking at it and not doing anything about it? And I kind of found out that most men within 5 years who decide I've got prostate cancer and decide we're just going to look at it, we're not going to take a surgical route or any kind of other conservative type, I guess, pathways. Those who just kind of look at it and kind of just do routine PSAs and just watch that over time, within 5 years, most men have already kind of had the surgery, not because it has amplified up, mostly because of the anxiety it causes on a daily basis. And whether that's warranted or whether that comes from Hollywood, because we all know someone that's had cancer, or we've watched a movie and it's about someone who gets, really nasty type cancer and they're given a 6-month kind of, terminal diagnosis. It's, you get cancer, you have surgery to get rid of it. And so that has just been playing on my head. And that seems to be what the research shows when they've done this with follow-ups from men from 5, 10, 15 years kind of thing, when they get the diagnosis, that most men have had the surgery just to remove the prostate, because it's just, what? I don't want to have to wake up every day thinking about, I wonder what it's doing. Even though it's a super slow moving cancer, it's rare that men die from prostate cancer. The men that do die are usually in their 80s. They've never had a blood work. They then get symptoms of prostate cancer, which frequently peeing overnight or having trouble with that and other symptoms related to it. They go and have the PSA, then it's at like 11 as a score. And it's like, oh my God, it's everywhere. It's already spread from the prostate and then they die. But that's very rare. And the fact that I'm in my early 40s, I've caught it very early. So yeah, I've decided to have the surgery, which is coming up early mid-March. And that's just complete removal of the prostate. And the reason why wouldn't just do that? Like it gets rid of cancer like that and it's in the early stages. There's complications with that surgery that happen to most men, sexual function and issues with incontinence and things like that. And I'm an active dude. I really love running. I love going to the gym and things like that. I don't really want to have to wear a nappy for the rest of my life kind of thing. So that's playing in my mind. And then obviously sexual function. I'm still relatively young and then my wife and I enjoy our sexual life kind of thing. And so having to talk to my wife that maybe I can never get it up again. What does that look like? Do we have to look at medications? Is that possible? And all those kinds of factors kind of came into it. But it's just like, you know what? I want to be there at my daughter's weddings. I want to be there when they grow up and potentially have kids and those kind of things. If I have to deal with some potential not so nice things, but they're not life-ending type things, they're manageable, that's a route I'm taking. And so that's just where we are. And we've kind of made that decision to go with that.
Yeah, and then I can only imagine, like you said, from a mental perspective, like you kind of know what you're up against right now in terms of potential like side effects, potential complications post-surgery. But weighing that out against, like you said, waking up every morning thinking like, I wonder what it's doing right now. I probably hasn't progressed at all, probably, should not present more symptoms, but waking up on a daily basis thinking about that, I would just imagine it's so weighty that you're just like, fuck it, I want to be done with this. I'm ready to take on whatever I need to take on, but I can't wake up thinking about that every day. Because obviously, when you got the diagnosis, I was staying with you earlier this year, and I saw, I mean, very understandably, of course, how much it was just on your mind pretty much all the time. Of course, you're present with the girls, you're present with Amy, your usual lovely self, but I know there's always like in the back of your mind the, like you said, the researcher in you of, okay, what does this mean, how might it impact things, what's the best way to go about that. So again, I can imagine just the trade-offs would be worth not having to think about that every day.
Absolutely. And the main issue as well is that if it does jump from being contained in the prostate and it goes metastatic, which is meaning it's spread, usually prostate cancer goes to bone cancer. And if anyone knows anyone or kind of read up on it, bone cancer is one of those ones where it's like, we ain't got long left here. It's a very bad diagnosis. And so if it was like, oh, it's prostate, and then it can become this, which isn't, maybe that kind of might have effect, but it's just like, you know what? I don't need to have that even as a 0.1% of a risk. Just wipe it out and never have to worry about it again, kind of thing.
Sure. So in terms of preparation for the surgery to give yourself the best possible chance at a smooth procedure, smooth recovery, weight management was the top of the list, what the doctor gave you. What were some other things they told you to focus on? What have you been doing to prep, and what are your thoughts on a smooth recovery after?
So I'll kind of just go back to March for a second, and it'll kind of lead into answering your question there, is
Sure.
that I got really angry and a bit jaded by it all, in that I've dealt with clients pre and post diagnosis of some pretty nasty cancers over the years. And not the vast majority, but I would say a lot of them have led an unhealthy life. They're overweight. They've got the risk factors that have had a potential impact on the reason why they've got that particular cancer. And I've led a life where I don't really drink, I don't smoke, I eat relatively well, I exercise pretty much every day of my life. And here I was at 40, like this is usually an old man's kind of cancer. I'm at 40 and I've already got this cancer. And I kind of was just like, fuck this. Like, this isn't fair. And I went through I'm sure some psychologists will be going, he's going through every stage. Like, there's probably some sort of pattern that I'm following kind of thing. But it was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care. Whatever kind of thing. And so my eating just went out the door. It was just like, if eating relatively well for my entire life doesn't give me the best chance of not getting cancer, fuck it. I'm going to enjoy myself then. I'll just eat whatever I want. But the main thing I always said, I'm going to at least keep exercising though. whatever my weight balloons at to, at least I'm going to be the strongest, fittest version of this fat guy that I turn into, is kind of where my head went with that. And so the last year has just been not all hands off kind of thing, but mostly if I want something, I'm having it. Am I full? I don't care. I want it kind of mentality. And so that came to a headway kind of October and start of November kind of thing. And I'm 5'8", 172 centimeters for wherever we are listening in the world. And I was at kind of like high 80s. And I kind of convinced myself over that, well, I've been going to the gym 5 days a week. Most of that's muscle. And then I had to go to like a family gathering or something. And my jeans have always fitted me, even if they're a little bit tighter, they've always fitted me. And I went to get on my jeans and I can't get them past my thighs. Like, what am I like? I've got no other clothes but shorts and tracksuit pants. I can't go to this kind of family gathering in shorts or a pair of tracksuits. And so I went out and bought just a bigger size pair of jeans. And I'm like, that's all right. You just buy bigger clothes. And I remember hearing that internal dialogue and going, oh, that's a slippery slope. If you just go, I'll just buy bigger clothes. And then what? In another 12 months, I'm then 95, 100. Like, where does it go kind of thing? And I'm like, nah, something has to change. And that's kind of then where it led into my thought process of what am I going to do about this? But also, if I'm going to have this surgery, I know as an exercise physiologist, I've prepped so many people going into surgery. The better healthy weight range you can be, as well as strength and fitness and well-being, the better outcomes you have from surgery. That's not just my anecdotal stuff. Read any research paper and it'll show you that as well. So I was like, all right, I got to do something about this. I got to be in the best shape I can be. I know I'm leaving it late. It's like me coming to you and saying, Sam, I'm getting married in 2 months' time. I need to lose 40 kilos. Can you help me? And you'd be like, for fuck's sake, why didn't you come to me 2 years, like kind of thing. So my goal is to, as I said, it's March. I kind of did all my kind of due diligence over kind of November and December, Christmas time, while still indulging, even though my head was like, all right, let's switch on again where it's go time. I just couldn't switch it off by then. And I don't know if that's because I'm carrying so much extra weight now. And again, I don't know enough of the kind of physiology of being super overweight and what that then does to the hormones and what the fat cells are releasing in certain, like, I know kind of surface level, and from what I then hear anecdotally from clients and things like that, the internal noise from someone who's carrying 20, 30, 40 plus kilos of extra weight is so loud inside their head of just, I just want to eat and I'm thinking about food, all those things that I'd never experienced in my life. Even if I'd gained a couple of kilos and I could just switch it on and lose those couple, no worries, and just go through that inner cycle that we all try and do. I just couldn't do that. And every other kind of method that I'd always used or given as examples to clients of like, all right, let's set a plan. Let's not make it too aggressive. Let's be more balanced about it. Let's exercise a couple of days. And I know I've seen in your post that, you haven't been doing your Spanish of late. Maybe the goal of what you're going to do every day was set too high. So you just go, I'm just not going to do it. You've now set those smaller goals and it's much more achievable. I tried all of those things as well, and it just never worked because the noise in my head of I want to eat, I want to eat, I want to eat. And why? I don't care. Who cares? Well, it doesn't matter if I eat. No one gives a shit. Who cares? Like, I can do it. It's my life. Kind of was just going. I was kind of rationale, but I came to these GLP-1s and I've obviously seen they've exploded in popularity and there's a lot more talking about. I'm like, I then went in that internal dialogue. Is like, is it cheating? Am I just this massive hip? I'm meant to be this fitness guy that tells and helps people and coaches people. And what are my friends going to think? Like, I then came to the chat group that you, me, and Tom have. And I'm like, what happens if I tell these guys? And like, I don't think they're going to be, down. Like, I know I'm going to cop some shit from it. There's kind of, we just banter and have fun.
But you can always count on that from Tom.
Exactly. But like, there was a part of me that was like, but what happens if they do actually think? And then Sam and Tom are speaking in their own group chat. And like all these things are like, what are people going to think about me? And like, do I document this? Do I just keep it secret? Like, I went through all of those. And then again, speaking to clients and seeing just how taboo it was and shameful people feel about it. It felt very reminiscent of the old days of when I started the whole no breakfast guy kind of thing. And I was very early on in that fasting, no breakfast type world. And I got all of that kickback in those early days of, oh my God, I can't believe you're recommending this. This is so harmful. You're cheating. This is ridiculous. You're going to like, it felt very similar to where I stand now with regards to talking about GLP-1s and doing it myself. That I'm like, you know what? I was this rogue dude back then that started talking about it. I know I'm not the first to start talking about it now, but I'm early on in that piece. And even to the point that a lot of people even know it's happening quite frequently. And I'm sure that a lot of coaches, yourself included, there's clients that we have that probably haven't even told us, or they are telling us and they've never told anyone else in their life. Everyone seems to be, shh, don't talk about it. Like it's just my little secret, kind of thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to document all this. If people think I'm a sellout or I'm a hypocrite or that I should know better, so be it. I'll cop that flack. But the overwhelming kind of response to me coming out and saying, you know what, I've been struggling. This is where I am. I'm going to give it a go and I'm going to document every step of the way. If it's a benefit to you, great. And for the most part, people have come in and go, oh my God, I have not told anyone. My husband doesn't even know, but I'm telling you because you said it. And so that's been quite liberating to see that in people kind of the trust I've built up over the years, people are happy to kind of share that with me and kind of why I've decided to go this way. Because, yeah, I'll hand on heart, I've just found it really difficult for the first time in my life to just shut off that noise and just get back to what I know I need to do, but just have never struggled in the past to do. And I now really can comprehend just how difficult a lot of my clients go through when I can get, it gets a bit tiresome sometimes being a coach that we say the same things over and over to so many people. But I can sometimes just like, oh God, Susie, let's just stop eating. Like, I can get kind of a bit frustrated with it. I now know Susie was really struggling. Like she doesn't want to check in with me each week and go, Adam, I failed. Like she didn't want to do that, but like this is just where she's at. And I now know that, through and through, I've felt that much harder.
Sure. So I'm glad you brought up the shame component for a lot of people, whether it's you as a lifelong fitness professional, feeling like, are people going to judge me for it? Are they going to think I'm hypocritical? Of course, what our clients deal with. And you, and I actually just wrote an email about this yesterday. You were one of the people that inspired me to recently start talking about GLP-1s more openly. Now, I'm not personally on one, but a lot of my clients are. And of course, I've been supporting them. Like you, I don't consider it cheating. I think that's an ironic take considering most people are on a variety of drugs to help them manage a variety of things in their life. But for some reason, we arbitrarily draw the line here. And on a very brief side tangent, I also find it funny that many fitness professionals who are on a lot of drugs that they don't openly acknowledge to help them with their fitness goals all of a sudden take issue with this one. I'll leave that there for another time. But our conversations also made me realize, well, if I don't discuss this more openly, I'm ultimately doing people a disservice because maybe they think I am in that category of people who thinks it's cheating and it's bad and it's wrong and it's a shortcut. Maybe, as you also mentioned, maybe some of my clients have, I'd like to think everybody's been open with me, but maybe there's somebody who's either on one or is thinking about taking one who isn't sure they'll get the support. So I am with you that I feel very strongly that we need to remove a lot of the shame surrounding it because then we can better support people who are thinking about taking one. And, we don't want people getting their information from Google or TikTok or wherever people are going to because they're not sure if they can go to a professional like us to get some sort of support. And I'm sure, actually, I know for a fact, we've talked about it, the amount of engagement that we've both gotten via DM, via email, people saying like, oh, okay, we can talk about this now. And now we're having productive conversations that allow people to not fall into the trap that I think many early GLP-1 users did, which is making the only metrics of success, eating as little as possible and losing as much weight as quickly as possible. And there's more to it than that. There's like a right way to go about it. So, to kind of tie this all together, I'm with you. I don't think it's cheating. I think that's an insane hypocritical take of so many other people. And by taking it off this pedestal as this bad shortcut thing, we're then able to better support people who honestly are going to take it anyway. I think it was Jordan Side who posted a video recently where he predicted, I don't want to misquote him, so I'm just going to say a high percentage of adults, at least in the US, will be on a GLP-1 within the next 10 years. And I buy that. I think it'll be in the same category as, blood pressure medication or, something for cholesterol, where just, yeah, I'm on this and this to help me manage these things.
I genuinely think this is a penicillin moment of our generation. Like I I might be overstating it. I would go out on a limb and say within the next 5 years, 50% of the population will be on some, like they're already bringing out a new version now that they're in stage 3 clinical trials of. That's now a triple kind of acting agonist on these GLP-1 type peptides that's meant to be even more effective than the one that I'm on at the moment, which is tirzepatide, which the brand name is Monjaro. I don't know if it is. It might be Zepbound in America, I think is the brand name of it. And tirzepatide is more effective than the original one, which was semaglutide, which was the Ozempic and the Wegovy's and ones like that. So the fact that I've heard routinely people are losing anywhere from 10, 15, maybe even up to 20% of their body weight on the particular one I'm on now. This new retatrutide, I hate trying to pronounce it. It's a really weird how they got the ETATA in there kind of thing, but retatrutide or something like that. It's showing that it's 20+%, and it's got better, petitioning of using fat as a fuel source. It's more sparing of muscle when combined with exercise. Like all of the factors that people had some issues with the original ones seems to be kind of not completely, but seems to be curbing some of those issues. And I can only presume they pharmaceutical companies, and like we can bash on them all you like, but at the end of the day, pharmaceutical people, they have their flaws, but they've saved billions of lives over the last 100 years, that they're going to see the windfall they can have from these. So they're going to pump a bucket load of money into the research of these and newer versions of this. So I can only think in 5 years, 10 years time, that there are newer versions of this that can be, I mean, at the moment you have to inject it, and it's very simple. I don't have an issue with needles, but I can understand that people might have issues like, oh, I got to inject this myself. There'll probably be a drink or a powder or a pill that you can just, like a blood pressure medication every morning. I just take mine. And I think a vast majority of the population will be on it, because we're seeing there's even other side effects, positive side effects, that we just didn't expect. It was like, it's really good at helping people manage their blood sugar, and it helps type 2 diabetics. Oh, they seem to lose a lot of weight. That's great. Oh, now it seems to have cardiovascular benefits. Oh, it seems to be dropping the risk of dementia. Oh, and I just think, like, why wouldn't people go on it, even as a preventative measure type thing? That it could be one of those things that even yourself, a healthy individual, but you have a blood screening and gene workup, and you get this result back saying, Sam, you're at a really high risk of, some sort of cardiac event. You've got, 3 family members that have had dementia, that we're going to put you on one of these GLP, like whatever that version is in years. But I'm perfectly healthy and fine, but you'll just start taking it because there's very minimal side effects. And maybe we go into those. There's many side effects, but there's all these upsides. Let's just get everyone on it kind of thing. So I'm probably sounding like a pharmaceutical shill here trying to sell this, but I do genuinely think it's,
Sure.
I do think it's a penicillin moment, in that when penicillin and antibiotics came along, it just revolutionized medicine overnight with regards to how it was able to save lives. I genuinely, to my heart, believe that this movement and these medications will be that kind of movement that will look 50 years from now and like, oh my God, those people pre-GLPs, they didn't take this what maniacs kind of thing. Why wouldn't they? I think that's where we are. I could be wrong, but I genuinely do feel like that's the kind of moment we're in at the moment.
Yeah, I wouldn't be remotely surprised. And I actually think this is a great spot for us to pause for a second, because I think we're excited about this and we're almost skipping a few topics ahead. Pause for a second and clarify that a GLP-1 is a category of drug, almost like people say somebody's on steroids. Well, that could be any number of things. So you mentioned some of the brand names of the different options that people have, how many of these drugs are getting better. But if we say a GLP-1, that is the umbrella term for a variety of drugs that you could be taking that help mimic a thing that happens naturally in your body anyway, a hormone that is already there, GLP-1. So it's kind of like at least somewhat similar to somebody might take creatine. You already have creatine stores in your body. that you can get, I mean, a side tangent, I guess, but through Whole Foods. And then you can supplement that with creatine as a supplement. So GLP-1, yes, that's a thing that is already in your body. And then GLP-1, the drug, is the umbrella term for any number of drugs that you could be taking to primarily slow gastric emptying and increase feelings of fullness in a very simplistic way. That is like the magic of the drug. That, and I think this is another very important thing to pause and clarify, that helps you reduce your calorie intake, yet in a calorie deficit. And that's how the drug works. I mean, you and I were talking yesterday about the conversations that I have with people who don't know this, and it's not their fault. It's never explained, frequently not explained to them. So they take the drug, weeks go by, either their, weight loss has slowed down a lot or they're not losing weight, and they feel like, well, the drug's not working. And I think it's important to understand why. That just means that somewhere along the way, your calorie consumption has gotten back up to maintenance. So when you increase the drug, it's not the drug directly making you lose weight. It's just generally increasing those feelings of fullness to make it easier to manage your calories, to get back into a calorie deficit. So I did feel like that was important for us to clarify. GLP-1, category of drug that mimics something that's already happening in your body. And they're ultimately just a tool to help you, shocker, get your calorie intake down, the thing that we've both been talking about for over a decade.
What I'll also say is that it seems to be, the research shows that around 10 to 15% of people are actually either low or non-responders to these medications, which I think would just be the biggest kick in the guts. That, like, you've got this food noise, you've been having trouble, you've hired a coach, you've done a program, and this miracle drug that you speak to 37 of your friends and neighbors and whatnot, and they're like, it's been the best thing ever. Go to your doctor, talk to them about it. You do that, you go on it, and you have nil effect from it, or very minimal effect. I reckon that would just be the biggest kick in the guts, that you've taken that leap to do that. The other one that I can't seem to find yet, and I'm interested to see if you've seen it, but long-term use of it, I don't know if there's some sort of reducing effect from it over time. So I know I've spoken about it, and I will most likely do this moving forward because I have a family history of cardiovascular disease. My nan also had Parkinson's and dementia, so that weighs on the back of my head. Maybe am I predisposed to that as well? But my doctor and I have discussed that maybe going on a low dose for the rest of my life, once I've completed my journey to getting to where I want to be with regards to my weight, whether just a low kind of micro dose for the rest of my life. And it seems that this micro dosing is becoming more popular. A lot of people kind of doing it when they do get that. But I'd be interested to know that in 2 years' time, that 2 milligram of tirzepatide that was fine to keep me at bay and give me all those benefits, does that slowly have to creep up to my micro dose is now 4 milligrams? I'd be interested to know in 10 years' time if that's, we don't have long enough of the micro dosing type research yet. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out, though.
Yeah, most of what I've heard on that, I would chalk up as anecdotal from people who were kind of early on this stuff. So to your point, I think it'll be a little while before we have enough clear cut. Hey, this is what tends to happen. Here's what we can do proactively. Here's how we can adjust, whether it's, changing the type of GLP-1 that you're on, seeing if you're more responsive again to a lower dose of just a slightly different one. I think that will be interesting to see. And again, I have a variety of questions that we got in our Q&A, and you already answered one of them kind of indirectly, but perhaps you want to expand on it. Somebody had said, I'm going to be really blunt. Did you put on a stack of weight to experiment with GLP-1s? Because we have seen health and fitness professionals over the years do some sort of, I'm going to gain a bunch of weight on purpose to see what it's like in your shoes and then send things in the other direction. So again, I feel like you addressed it, talking about what the last year has been, but I don't know if you wanted to expand on that at all.
Yeah, I remember seeing that question come through, and I wish I could have that storyline, because I've been that guy always on my socials. That I've done so many challenges, and like I did the whole thing that started this off was my 7 diets in 7 weeks, some like 10 years ago or something I did, where I tried all these. You can go into, I won't go, but like I've always been that experiment guy. Like I like experimenting on myself so I can feel it first. I wish, and that played through my head before telling you and Tom. I haven't shared this with you guys, but like that was a conversation I had with myself in my head. I was like, maybe if I tell these guys that, like over the last year, I got fat because I want to try these GLP-1s, and then it'd be kind of my way to soft sell it to you guys. And you'd probably like, well, that makes sense. Fair enough. Yeah, go for it. Tell us how it feels, kind of thing. And then I could go and do it. And then at the end of it, come and tell the story kind of post that. But yeah, I wish I could say that was the case, but no. And yeah, obviously we've shared why my weight has crept up and where my mental health has been and where I've been over the last year. That no, the story is much less interesting. And it's just, I got lazy. I decided I'm going to eat as much as I wanted to. And shocker, you eat whatever you want and the calories go up, you put on weight. So here we are.
I mean, to tell you the truth, I think that will resonate with more people where, I mean, as we both know, a lot of people feel like fitness professionals don't relate to certain food struggles. So the fact that you are being so open about, yeah, I kind of hit a lot of fuck it moments over the last year. I'm paying the price for it now. Here's what I'm doing to turn things around. To me, that's more impactful than like a conscious experiment. In some ways, of course, each, bring different things to the table, but just the fact that, hey, this got away from me a little bit. Here's what I'm doing to turn things around. I think the impact of that will be enormous.
Mm.
Next question we got. Did you get any testing done before going on them? And if so, what tests?
Um, I've said this time and time again, and I want to like put it in here and whether we can clip it and go, please, 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 please go to your doctor. Don't listen to Jeff on TikTok. Don't listen to your next door neighbor's dog walker. Like, please go to your doctor and ask for just a full panel of blood work. And I would suggest anyone over the age of 30 should be starting to get some sort of routine blood work just to see where they are, to be able to then map them over time, because then you can properly see that, oh, that's elevated from where I saw it 3 years ago, as opposed to maybe that's not elevated for you if you're just taking it today and you make a snap judgment, oh, that's elevated. Well, is it really? It could have been like that for the last 8 years kind of thing. And so just to preface that and say that I've been getting regular blood work for quite a while. I know I'm in a gifted position in Australia. I can go to the local pathology. It's free. I walk in and say, I need a referral from a GP, of course. And I go to the GP and say, hey, doc, I want to get this. And I know those bloods. But if you go to your GP and say, hey, I've just been thinking about getting some blood work done to kind of see where my health is at. Doctor, what blood work do I need to get? And can I get a referral? They'll likely look at triglycerides, cholesterol, fasting glucose, a HbA1c, which is a more longer term kind of look at what your blood glucose is doing. What are some of the other ones I had? I had some male specific ones done. Obviously, I said before with regards to PSA, I had testosterone done as well, which interestingly, and again, we've spoken about this, particularly going on the journey, maybe on TRT as well. Mine was quite low. But I don't know if it's low because I got fat, and we know that getting overweight does make your testosterone go down. I haven't been sleeping as well. Maybe that had, like, there's a number of factors. So I was speaking to the doctor again and saying, look, I want to lose the weight, get in some good shape again, or have the surgery, come out of post-surgery and kind of go from there. Then we'll kind of reevaluate. But yeah, they were the main ones I kind of had done. There's some other kind of mineral type ones like your magnesium and your iron and all those kind of different ones, but speak to your doctor. Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough, that this has to be a conversation with your doctor. But I will say I had a few people reach out that said, look, I went to my doctor and they said no. What do I do now? I was like, I'm not sitting here and saying don't listen to doctors, but at the end of the day, it's your health and you've got to be the best advocate for your health. And you can say, thank you very much, doctor, no worries. Bring up another doctor's surgery and go and say, hey, I'd like to get some blood work done. And I'm thinking about going on there. If you get another no, maybe there's a common reason why then. Like, ask, well, I went to him down the road and I'm seeing you now. Like, why are you saying no? Like, I thought it would be good for, and they might then give you an answer that then satisfies you. Like, I never thought about it like that. Okay, fair enough. But if they're kind of giving you the runabout, it's like, yeah, just leave, kind of thing. Just keep advocating for yourself and get the answer that you want to hear. So yeah, start with a GP.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. As you and I have both seen an enormous amount of people who quote unquote do their research. That research is a conversation with ChatGPT or a TikTok doom scroll. And I'm not saying there's no good information, but nothing is going to trump, actually having the data from blood work, having a conversation with your doctor, perhaps having the support and some sort of ongoing program that helps you manage this stuff. So I think that's great advice. Next question. Do you have to follow any sort of nutrition plan while you are on a GLP-1, or is taking one enough?
Um, the two things that, well, I know because I know what the questions are. We've already spoken about them. I know there's one coming up with regards to Ozempic face,
Mhm.
and the the reason why people seem when they're taking these medications, they seem to look a bit gone is that it's just a rapid weight loss. It's not the drug causing it. It's got this nickname of Ozempic face. It's just the fact that they've just lost a lot of weight very quickly. And if you go down to a local bodybuilding competition on the day of body, look at how sunken and just on death row they look. It's the same thing. There's just you're just wasting away and you're doing it in a quick manner. So that's I just kind of parcel that to say that the number one thing that people got to understand is that you have to strength train. Like we talk about this all the time, how important it is, but particularly on these medications because they are so effective at helping you to reduce the amount of intake that you put in, that you just have to strength train, number one. And then to answer this question is that the fuel for that strength training is protein. You have to get enough protein in to help fuel the recovery and fuel the minimize the kind of muscle loss that you're going to see throughout these. Muscle loss happens whether you're losing weight with medications or not, but you can certainly minimize that amount happening, especially when it's happening quick. And the other one is fiber. So I say those two things now to then answer the question directly in that I would normally advise clients and I would do myself is start tracking calories again. I track calories, I track protein. I've never really tracked fat and carbs because I just kind of let them go up and down as long as they stay within my calories. And then of late, I've started looking a bit more of fiber because I realize it's probably an important thing I should be looking at. But now, because I have no issues worrying about how many calories I'm getting in, because I know I'm eating far less than I ever have, I just don't factor that in for me right now. If the scale isn't moving and you're taking these medications, maybe you are still eating more than you thought. And maybe that's a thing to maybe think about tracking again. But absolutely just get your protein in each day, get your fiber in each day, and please just get to the gym and lift something heavy and put it back down a few times a week.
Yeah. Again, I think that's phenomenal advice because I have seen so many people take the drug, like we talked about earlier, thinking, well, the drug makes me lose weight and not really thinking about a whole lot else besides that, when in reality, it's helping you stay full so your calories come down. But the more information you have about where your calories might be at, the better you can manage anything from, oh, the drug doesn't seem to be working. You're likely just consuming more calories than you realize, even still. Or I'd say on the flip side, if you are just melting weight at a very fast pace, like, I mean, so this is definitely a good topic for us here. For some people, for many people, there is such thing as too fast, where if you're losing at an extremely fast pace, not just the early phases where you're losing a lot of gut content and water, but if you continue at an extremely fast pace, we're looking at a lot of unnecessary muscle loss that has everything from aesthetic to metabolic to long-term quality of life impacts. We are looking at nutrient deficiencies because you're just not eating enough. So I would say, yes, being in touch with how many calories you're eating, even if it's not something you're tracking super precisely for a very extended period of time, can help you avoid like either end of the spectrum of like, oh, the drug doesn't seem to be working. Ooh, I didn't realize I was still having more calories, bringing myself back up to maintenance, or making sure you're not overshooting the runway, which is something that I help a lot of clients with. Of, hey, faster is not inherently better, and all weight loss is not created equal. We got to find a sweet spot here where, okay, things are moving at a good clip, but not to the point where you are having all these massive trade-offs in terms of the amount of nutrients you're having, muscle you're losing, the long-term impacts of that.
Yeah, I think I'm probably in a slightly unique position in the fact that I think I can generalize and say that most people who are probably, I said, I'm 20 kilos overweight of where I've lived most of my life. But because of the last year, even though I said before that I kind of tricked myself into thinking, oh, I've been going to the gym so much more that a lot of this weight's just muscle kind of thing. I don't say it too lightly that I probably have put on some decent amount of muscle, even though I'm 20 kilos heavier than where I should be. So I think most people who are 20, 30, 40 kilos overweight are probably coming from a place where they've been inactive for a lot of their life, and a lot more of their weight is actually body fat. And so I'm trying to be a showing of that you can go on these medications and at the end of it have lost a significant amount of weight, but still retain some muscle mass. And I've got it in my head, this picture that I'm going to just walk out as this Greek Adonis once I've lost. It's like, look at this, I'm just shredding. And like, look at all that muscle that was underneath that fat. I understand there's going to be some loss, and I do hope that I maintain as much as I possibly can. And yeah, I'm really pleased with the end result. But just to say that nothing has changed with regards to my training, even though I'm on these medications, even though my motivation to, because I'm just on so little calories at the moment, my motivation and my energy levels, like that wanes. Like today I woke up, even though I'm 3 kilos down after 4 days. And I understand, again, that's a lot of just shit coming out of me and just water loss and some fat loss in there, but it's significant in 4 days' time. But I thought I'd be waking up just on death's door this morning. It's like, oh, I've got no energy, but I had no motivation, but I was flying high. Like I was like, I don't want to go to the gym, but I got all this energy. Like, let's go and burn it. So I went into the gym and had a really good lift today, and I was really happy with the markers I was hitting, kind of thing. So yeah, to go back, just please get in the gym and please track the markers that are going to give you the best success at the end of these medications.
For sure. And I do want to reemphasize this muscle retention kind of hierarchy or checklist, strength training, top of the list. And you and I both know that most people overestimate how much they need to do when they think lifting program. It's like, do I have to go every weekday? Do I have to go every day? Do I have to be in there for an hour? You can do 2 or 3, 30-minute sessions per week. And if they're well structured and progressive, that is enough to maintain a lot of muscle, especially when you combine it with the things a little bit lower on the list. So getting enough protein. And then I would also add sleep as well, as can make an impact in body composition, even hunger, cravings, willpower. That's probably an episode in itself. But if we look at that checklist, strength training at the top, protein, and then sleep to a degree after. And out in left field, but still relevant, is just pace of weight loss. Like I said, if you are under consuming calories, taking things way too far, at a certain point, if you lose fast enough, even if you are strength training, even if you are getting some protein, good sleep, you'll lose a lot of muscle along the way. So you got to find that pace that makes sense for you. So I mean, we've started to touch upon this to a degree, but could you expand on side effects that are common and anything that you are doing? I know it's still early days at the time of recording this, but anything that you're doing to mitigate side effects, just kind of how you're responding to things.
So routinely, the common side effects are nausea, and that can be from moderate to mild. I don't know if that's mild to moderate, however, kind of thing. But for some people, it can be moderate to severe to the point where it's vomiting, inducing kind of nausea. For me, anecdotally, again, I'm just one person kind of thing. The nausea was quite considerable the first couple of days, to the point where I would just look at food and just be like, oh, I just don't want to. I never felt like I wanted to throw up, but it was just this looking at food, just like, oh, I just don't want to go near that feeling, which has not been the case the last year. I see food, I eat food, kind of has been the last year. So that's been interesting to kind of see happen. And last night, for the first time, I felt hungry for dinner time, not starving, but like, I'm looking forward to eating. And I was getting dinner ready for the girls and dishing it up. There you go, girls, put the plates down. I then sat in front of it. And the moment I sat in front of it, I was like, I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat that. And I didn't eat dinner again. I couldn't bring myself to eat it. I just felt this ill nausea type feeling going to eat that. And so that's been interesting from there. And the other side of that is that constipation seems to be a major one. That's why I said please emphasize fiber, because that'll certainly help with that. But in some cases, it's the opposite, that diarrhea is the issue. And again, I got quite graphic on my Instagram post this morning or the other day in saying that I had violent diarrhea yesterday morning. Just woke up and like, gotta go, and got on, and it was Hiroshima, heading to the toilet kind of thing. So it was pretty horrific. So that lasted. I probably had 3 shits that morning in the space of probably 3-4 hours, kind of thing. But then woke up this morning, poop was back to normal, kind of thing. So I haven't had any issues with constipation, but I had that one moment with that, and I'm like, how is this still coming out? I haven't eaten anything over the last couple of days. I'm like, where is this coming? So yeah, they're the common ones that people have as side effects, but it tends to dissipate over the course of about 3 weeks. And I'll kind of just give a really brief one. For most people, they'll go on the very lowest dose of whatever version they're going on. They'll stay on that for a month, then usually go up to the next dose, stay on that for a month. And after that is when you start having the discussion with your doctor of, should I go up again? Well, is weight still coming off? How's the food noise? How's the hunger? How are the side effects? And see how you go. So it tends to be that for the first 3 weeks of taking the injection, you get these symptoms and they tend to trail off. You then take the next dose, those symptoms tend to ramp back up again because of the increased dosage. But then when you settle into a dosage, it seems to disappear for most people. That nausea goes, the constipation goes, the diarrhea goes, and all those, and you kind of just settle into your new normal at that point. From what I've gathered, I've only been taking it for this week, so I don't know, but I'm about to take another injection in a couple of days, so maybe that all ramps up again. I'll kind of find out from there, and I can tell you in 2 months' time whether it's still persisting or whether it's, kind of leveling out.
Sure. And I'm glad you circled back to the fiber as well. And what's funny is most of the virtually all of the focal points that we're talking about, the things that are important to nail, if you remove GLP-1 from this conversation and we were just talking general weight loss and fat loss, the conversation would be pretty much no different. I mean, pace of progress, I think, is more of a factor because people just tend to really eat very, very little. And, that's where muscle retention, becomes more of a thing. But it's funny how you mentioned the Ozempic face, how like people are chalking it up to Ozempic and not rapid weight loss or extreme weight loss. When I prepped for my men's physique show a year and a half ago, I was also very gaunt. I looked very sick before. So like, yes, we're talking a lot of GLP-1 stuff, but you can really apply a lot of these focal points, whether it's the strength training, the protein, the fiber, to general health, fitness, weight loss, etc. I think they're almost just amplified because of, again, how quickly people tend to lose weight on a GLP-1, but also because it tends to be such a polarizing topic right now where people are like, well, it's doing this and it's doing this. And it's like, yeah, there's some things that are specific to it, but also it's just general weight loss considerations,
The big factor, and I'm really hamping this on my stories, I'm going to keep saying it, is relative risk. Get really familiar with the term of relative risk. And to just give you a baseline, and the listeners that kind of what I mean by that statement is, there is no doubt, probably for some small, very small part of the population, some side effects that are not good. People talk of pancreatitis and maybe some increases in some cancers and things like that. I don't know, and I can't find it in the research whether that is going to be a long-term case. And just to parlay just for one moment, we've been using these drugs for 20 years for type 2 diabetics. It's not like this is just new it's just new for weight loss in the last couple of years. And so when people go, we don't have any long-term data, well, we do. We've been using it for 20 years. Now, we don't know what that data might look on a more healthy, in quote, population who aren't type 2 like myself. I'm a relatively healthy guy, just a bit overweight at the moment. What's that going to look like for me long term? But just to flatline say, absolutely, just like any medication out there, there are going to be side effects that some person is going to take that's going to be really nasty side effects that you have to get off these immediate. Just like there's someone who is allergic to peanuts, but for most people, peanuts are completely fine. So I just want to kind of say that even if there are side effects to these particular drugs, look at it as a relative side effect. The number one killer in the world still to this day, which kills millions of people every single year is cardiovascular disease and the multitude of things that happen because of cardiovascular disease. But no one ever speaks about as well is those who don't die from cardiovascular disease. People who have a stroke or a heart attack and then are still alive but in a vegetative state because of a stroke, or have to learn how to walk and talk again, or are now crippled because of a massive heart attack that they can't now, they're taking beta. Like, there's a whole host of people, millions and millions of people every year. Let's take that as the risk factor if you continue to stay overweight and in a unhealthy environment. Now make that as a relative risk against, okay, there might be some risks to taking this particular medication, but if it gets you into a healthy weight range and drastically reduces the fact that in 10 years' time you were going to die of a heart attack, relative risk, which one would you rather take the risk on? Do you want to run the risk and keep living the life and potentially die of a heart attack or be in a vegetative state because of a stroke? Or do you want to take the maybe side effects that we don't really know here, but you're not going to die of those and you're going to live a long and healthy life? So yeah, make your own call on what that is to you.
Perfectly explained. And I think a great place for us to wrap up this chat is something that you started to touch upon, which is the idea of, okay, I'm going to take this for a month, maybe then up the dose, maybe a third time after that. And that's when you have a conversation about, hey, what's this longer term plan look like? And we actually had two people ask about that. I'd say a similar kind of question. Can you stay on them indefinitely, or do you stop when you lose the weight? And then what is life like after a GLP-1? So what are your thoughts on that?
Real quick to kind of wrap it up. People who are on blood pressure medication, they don't stop taking blood. The reason why their blood pressure is managed is because of the medication. They stop taking that medication, their blood pressure goes. There's something wrong with your physiology that is causing. Now, of course, there are lifestyle factors to reason why that, but you hope to take that medication and then mitigate the other parts that aren't related to the medication helping out. Eat better, don't smoke, don't drink, all those kind of factors. Same thing with these, that we're now beginning to understand more and more that obesity is a disease. That doesn't take out the complete accountability on the human being. Sure, Susie, you're eating too much. You're not exercising enough. Maybe we should have more vegetables in your life. All the things that you said, if we weren't talking about GLP-1s today, it would have been a normal conversation about talking about weight loss and health and well-being. But the fact is that it's looking more and more like that these are going to be something that people will probably have to take for an indefinite amount of time. And again, that becomes a discussion with your doctor. Again, you might ramp up to the highest dose because you've got to get the weight off and you're 60 kilos overweight. Great, John, you've lost 60 kilos. That's amazing. Now let's see if we can titrate you down off the highest. Let's bring you down on the next one. How does that feel? John then reports back to his doctor, hey, the food noise is still gone. I'm maintaining my weight. This is great. Cool. Let's go down to the next one. And then John finds a place where he can now maintain where he is. And that might change over time, but he finds where that kind of balance is. And so for most people, that looks like it's going to be some sort of micro dose down at the very bottom. But again, since talking about this, people have come out, hey, Adam, I've been on this for the last 18 months. I reached my goals. And for the last 12 months, I've now been on this particular dose. And for most people, it seems to be like that lower to mid-range type dose that they've now settled on. And so, again, you're just going to have that conversation and kind of play that out yourself and see where that lands. Some people can come right off these and it's never an issue again. And I'd be interested to see if that is the case when I do get back into that more healthy weight range where I always live my life, that maybe that internal noise does just disappear because I'm not anywhere near as overweight as I have been in the last kind of 12 months, but I won't know until I get there. So the other preventative things that we spoke about potentially helps with cardiovascular disease and preventative natures on that, maybe with dementia. I might just kind of just throw it to the wind and go, you know what, if I'm on a low dose for the rest of my life and I'm potentially preventing some of these things or reducing my risk of them, I look at that risk kind of profile and go, you know what, the risk to me is very little, but it might stave off those and I get to see my daughters grow up and all those things I spoke about right at the beginning. I'm happy to kind of take that risk, then we'll say.
Sure. No, again, I think you explained that perfectly. And one thing that I will add that nobody explicitly asked about in this question box, but it is something I've been asked about a lot, is What if I just, for personal reasons, I want to come off them? Financial considerations, depending on the country somebody's in, insurance, it can be, it's not nothing. So whether it's coming off of it for financial reasons, personal reasons, maybe it's, the side effects you've had a super hard time managing. How do I avoid the regain that stereotypically comes after coming off a drug? Which, again, if we just bring this back to general weight loss and dieting, everybody likes to talk about the regain that happens coming off of a GLP-1. Well, if you're on a dieting protocol and you go back too closely to what you're doing before, the same thing happens. So it's not unique to this. But what I will add is general hunger management strategies, which I guess people don't necessarily have to focus on as much if the GLP-1 alone is really squashing your hunger. But I would say coming off of one, that is the thing I have helped people with them, or I've had people focus on the most is let's get ahead of this. If we do not have this external help managing your hunger, and hunger is a primary reason why you have been overeating in the past. Yes, there's psychological stuff to address as well. We're looking at everything from, I think, meal timing is really underrated. Not that it technically matters from the perspective of, yes, calories are king. It's just what you eat by the end of the day, but consistent meal timing, not letting your hunger get too crazy. So if you're eating at really erratic times every single day, hunger is harder to manage. And that's something the numbers can't account for. So I would say consistent meal timing and whatever that looks like for you in your lifestyle. We go back to protein and fiber, the most filling nutrients you can have. I would say ideally mostly through whole foods. Not that, things with added protein or fiber inherently bad or liquid sources, but pure hunger management, you'll probably do a bit better having mostly whole foods. I would say calories as high as possible in line with your goals. So if it's still being in a deficit, that's fine. But can we have you at 14 or 1500 instead of still trying to go for 800 or 1000 calories? So I would say those things tend to be toward the top of the list. Consistent meal timing. We're looking at plate structure at those meals, lots of whole foods, protein, fiber, and then calories as high as possible relative to whatever your goal is. Those alone can manage hunger to a reasonable degree and get, I mean, the list can go even longer, but I say that tends to be the trifecta and give you the best possible chance of not coming off a GLP-1 and just being ravenous and then having a hard time not shooting back to where you before.
I said a bit of myself.
Beautiful. We did get two questions before I let you go today. We did get two questions, not technically related to GLP-1s. First one, with fasting, throwback to the no breakfast guy. We'll see what your thoughts are on this. With fasting or eating in a calorie deficit, is there any link to sleep issues?
I think you can probably relate to this most when you went into a pretty severe diet with regards to prepping for your physique show. That when you're in a very low calorie state for a very long or an extended period of time, sleep is one of those things that does go out the door. And so it's just about managing that. And I think you spoke about it when with regards to like speed of loss and things like I don't necessarily say that fasting was always just a protocol to help people eat less calories. And you can call it keto, you can call it fasting, you can call it what carnivore, whatever the kind of latest fad in quote diet or eating regime might be. All they are doing is trying to help you, if we're talking about fat loss, is to try and get you into that calorie deficit. And so it's not the version of that makes that happen, but an extended period of time with low calories will absolutely affect your sleep. And then again, you just have to manage that as best as you can. When you're prepping for a physique show, you know that I've got 3 weeks left. I've just got to grind through this. But when it's a lifelong journey and someone's like, I got 100 kilos to lose and I'm 40 kilos down, yay me. But like, I feel maybe you have to talk to your coach or your doctor or whoever you might be working with. If you're doing it yourself, maybe coming off a calorie deficit for a period of time and revamping up those calories just to give you a period of maintenance, just to let the body recover, let it have, and maybe you see your sleep start to improve. Maybe stay like that for a week, 2 weeks, a month, however that might be, and then slowly come back into that deficit just to manage the sleep issues that are no doubt going to arise because of a low calorie environment.
For sure. And funny enough, after my show, when I was very gaunt and barely sleeping due to a variety of factors, because obviously, people look at somebody on a bodybuilding stage, physique stage, whatever you want to call it, and they're like, that is health and fitness. It's not. It's just extreme leanness. It's not remotely healthy to push things that far. But what I found interesting, it was the worst sleep of my life in the weeks leading up to that show. I wish I could remember the exact number, maybe, I don't know, 6 kilos of fat on my entire body, which like that's down to essential fat, pre-hospitalization. It is. And what's funny is I wasn't even lean enough. I didn't even get as lean as I needed to get. But the funny part was this second my calories came up that afternoon, and then obviously on a more ongoing protocol, my sleep got better immediately. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If you have been dieting for a while, or you need to finish your diet on fairly low calories, like that's not your norm. That's not a forever thing. So when the calories come back up, you can reasonably expect that if your sleep issues are a byproduct of your deficit duration or size, things will get better very quickly. And if that's not making a difference, we just have to look at the other stuff that usually throws off people's sleep, how you're spending the hour or so before bed, your caffeine intake. I mean, sleep hygiene, yet again, could be an episode in itself. So if not the calorie stuff, there's usually something else at play that's pretty straightforward to address. Last question for you. For a treat, I've been having a can of diet ginger ale. Could this affect my weight loss?
No.
Okay. I'm going to add a question. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. I'm going to add a question that I think tends to go hand in hand with this one, even though this person did not directly ask it. Is diet soda in general worse for you? Is it bad? Is it something that, the aspartame, is it something that you need to worry about?
Nope. And I won't be such an asshole to that question. No. Twice in a row. But actually, I just saw what's his name, Memo. I always he's a Swedish.
I know the account.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know if it was his research or he came across it and put it on his page, but everyone talks about artificial sweeteners in general, whether it's aspartame or sucralose or any of them. Again, umbrella term of artificial sweeteners are terrible for gut health. It's the thing I always hear. And it's like, well, we know it changes gut health, but we don't know if that gut health change, everyone thinks change bad kind of thing. We don't know if that change is bad or is it a potential good. He just released and showed a paper on his particular page that showed it actually had beneficial, like the change that it had on the gut was actually beneficial to the human. And I don't know, I haven't read it yet. I just saw it kind of come up on there, but why that is the case, you can probably find out in the paper. But just to kind of circle back and say to that person, like, I don't know of any time, any case that I would ever suggest that if you have to choose between a full sugar soda and a no sugar soda, no calorie soda, however you're going to call them, I'm always saying to the person, choose the diet version of it. Now people go, oh, you should drink water. Sure, Susie, let's all drink water. Fine. Yes, that's the better version. But I'm just saying purely, if that person is, hey, I drink 2 liters of Coke every single day, I've been trying to lose weight. What's the best thing I can probably do on day one? Change it to Coke Zero. Like I wouldn't even think about it as a kind of recommendation. Be just try this, see how we go now. So yeah, to answer that question more than just no and yes kind of thing, absolutely, there's no issues to having those diet versions, whether that's diet ginger ale that the person was asking, or that's diet Coke, diet Sprite, whatever that might be. I've been sipping now. I live on diet cordial because anyone who's lived in Perth, the water here is absolute trash. It tastes like it's coming out of the ground because it's dirt water. I just put diet cordial in it and it flavors it with a little bit of orange or a little bit of raspberry. And I've drunk that for the last 15 years kind of thing. And you might then, oh, but you got fat. Maybe it was the diet. No, it wasn't the diet cordial. It was the 2 liters of ice cream I was eating most nights of the week. I know where it happened.
Yes. No, that's great. I appreciate you expanding on that. And I can't help but wonder if at some point in your youth, a young girl named Susie burned you in some way. Because poor Susie, whoever that is, I don't know if you had a messy breakup in middle school, but poor Susie is always catching strays. No, Susie.
I've never known a Susie in my life. So I don't know where that originated from or why I started ripping into Susie from accounting and Bob from marketing. I think were the two that I always use. But yeah, it's poor Susie. She seriously cops some stray.
My version is Sally, and I'm sure I know at least a few Sallys in my life, but I think it's uncommon enough where I don't feel. I think if I picked, you say Adam, like if I know Adam, it'd be like this feels a little personal. Where Sally, I don't know too many Sallys. I'm sorry if you're a Sally and you're listening to this, but it's always no Sally, or like just because Sally said. So we apologize to the Susies, the Bobs, and the Sallys who are listening to this. Um,
So true.
What's funny is you, as the only three-time guest, are now, I think, going to be the only person. Well, not I think, definitely only person who went through the quick six. How I used to wrap up my episodes. That got way too long because the topics honestly just got fun, and we just did like episode part two of whatever I asked people about. And then since you came on at the end of season one, you then got the fast five. Or maybe it was down to the fast four at that point already, but now it is just the fast four, just because these tend to be fun topics that go into their own world. So I'm gonna hit you with the fast four, and then you're off the hook for the day. Number one, what do you value the most in a friendship?
Oh, good question. Um, I think the friendship itself. I can hand on my heart. Like, I don't think there's one quality. Actually, I'll say this: to be able to be truthful and have zero judgment from that truth. And we've spoken about like over this year, like I can't say I've been in some really dark places because I think that would be playing light for people who have been in dark places. But there's been some pretty low times throughout this year with the diagnosis, plus me just getting fatter and kind of feeling shit about that and whatnot. That I can just chime into our group chat with Tom and I can be truthful. And I know I'm going to get some ribbing, but I know it's coming from a place of love, but also trusting that like we got you here. Like we're going to rib on you, but like if there's something truly like, and when it has become serious, that you guys are then straight away just, hey man, is everything all right? What's up? And you check in. And so it's that I can be completely honest in that group and know that I'm going to get an honest reply from that. So I'd say, yeah, truth and being not judged or valued, then I'm going to get a truthful. So truth in the friendship is what I'd say.
I love that. I know it's cliche to talk about, but I do think, especially as men, where it can be more common to just play everything close to the vest, no matter what it is we're wrestling with, whether it's a health thing, whether it's, you had mentioned, the initial struggles with stepping, I don't want to say stepping into the role, that's not a good way to phrase it, but like you had a business for so long that was so big, and now primarily thinking of yourself as a father, a husband, somebody who's looking after the home, managing things so things are smooth for Amy. That can be a difficult thing, I think, as a man to talk about. So a lot of that stuff as well, that, and again, I know it's cliche to say like men can't speak up about things, but stereotypes are exaggerated truths. Like it's there for a reason. So I agree that having that space to just like say whatever and not think twice about how it may be received. Now, I will throw Tom under the bus and say, you're going to get lashings no matter what. I could say, Tom, I bought my first house. And he'll say, that piece of shit. Why would you do like immediately? So once you get through the lashings, then you can move on to the good stuff in the conversation.
I think I've bitten that in maybe once or twice because I was just not in a headspace to receive that right there. It's like, read the room, dude. I didn't need that. Like, do that later. Right now, I don't need it. But for the most part, if I didn't get that ribbing from you and Tom, I'd think something's wrong. I'm like, why aren't you? Like, what's going on? Like, so yeah, the fact that we can be, as I said, truthful and honest in that group chat. And as I said, Tom is relentless.
Ruthless.
No matter what. and I love him for it. I wouldn't change him for anything. So yeah.
Even when we do these question boxes, I mean, I'll be honest, we're only saying 90% of the questions we get because the other 10% are from Tom, and I can't air them on a show like mine. All right, second question. I don't want to keep it too much longer. If you could teleport anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
South of France. Amy and I keep talking about it again because we did it. It's coming up to, I think this is our 10th year anniversary. And I remember coming back from that year off that I took with our only one child at that time, who was one, and Amy and I. And we took a year off and lived in the south of France. And it was like, how good. I understand just how that sounds. Like, oh, you got to take a year, like, lucky you kind of thing. But that was one of the most incredible times. And it fundamentally changed me for the better. And I came back a better husband, a better father, a better coach, a better business person. And we said, we should do this in 10 years' time, because at that time, we're definitely going to have a second child. We'll try. And we now have those two kids. And Amelia's soon to be going into high school in the next couple of years. And I don't really care about primary school. I think it has its role. I don't want to downplay primary school teachers. Like, you have an incredible role for what you do to set up kids. But if she misses a couple of lessons of finger painting or maths in grade 5, I don't think it's really going to matter. But when you get into the high school, I think she needs to be really settled year. So we've got 2 years to potentially do something. And that's now started floating in our head. Do we do something? Do we take that last opportunity, or do we then just knuckle down for the next 18 years and wait out until the kids are properly grown up, finished high school, maybe they go to uni, then maybe they take off, whatever they do, it's probably a good 15 years away until that's going to happen. And so the moment you ask that, I'd love to take the 3 girls and myself and just disappear into the south of France again and be in that riverside town of Bordeaux for the next 8 to 12 months. It would be heaven.
You know me, I'm team do it now. I'm like, hang up this call, book it immediately. A nice treat for yourself after the surgery to look forward to. I think you get that shit in the books. What is the biggest thing that you want to accomplish in the next calendar year? Can be personal, professional, whatever comes to mind.
Look, it's cancer free. To have that surgery, to come out with a dick that works, to be crass, but a dick that works, that I can be sexually active with my wife without having to think about, do we have to take this medication? Or whatever that kind of looks. I can go on runs. I can be healthy. I can be fit. I can be running around with my girls, just to be without worry of my health for the foreseeable future kind of thing. So at the end of this year, I'm 75 kilos, shredded on TRT. And but no, if I can be very healthy, lean again, feeling fit, playing with my girls, and just have zero worry of where my health and well-being is at, that'd be where I'd love to be.
I'll call that. I think if you don't have 18-inch biceps, it was a waste of a year. I think in December 20 TRT, let's make it 20. No, obviously it's a great answer. What are you most grateful for right now?
To be soppy and kind of cliche, it genuinely is our group chat. I don't think we say it enough, but I think there's been some times for all of us that I think we've been grateful for that group chat. I truly am grateful that you guys are in my life, but also that we have that chat room. And then, of course, my girls and my family, they mean everything to me. And the catalyst for almost everything I do now is because of them and me wanting to be. I broke down in tears the other day. I was just watching some movie that had his the father of the bride kind of thing walking his daughter down the aisle, and I just picture that now. It was weird. I pictured myself as this jacked dad, of course, walking my daughter down, and her looking, or both of them looking at their app. That's just my North Star now, is to be able to get to an age where I can be healthy and well and walk them down that aisle and just see them become the women that I know they can be, and then send them off into the world and go, I've done my job. I'm always here if you need me, but I wish you well. You'll do great things, and I'm glad to have been a part of it. So I'm living my best life truly as now. There's one goal I've got left that I haven't ticked off. Everything else in my life I've achieved that I've ever wanted, and everyone who's ever known me knows what that one goal is. That Lamborghini will come one day, but if I didn't achieve it, everything else that I've achieved, I'll die happily once my girls are grown up. I don't want to be dying yet. So fuck cancer. I'm getting rid of this thing, and then we'll worry about the rest after it.
I love that. I love that. Beautiful answers. And I'll just add one very last thing here. It was so fucking awesome to finally meet your entire family in person because obviously, you and I connected virtually, I don't know how many years ago now, 7, 8 years ago or so. And like getting to know your family either through your daily Instagram stories around the dinner table when the girls were puny, just like a little egghead sitting there, just like looking at the camera, and kind of sort of meeting Amy, say before and after a podcast. But for anybody, I've touched upon it a little bit, but for anybody on this episode, anybody who doesn't know, you took me into your home earlier this year when I was trying to get a better feel for Australia, whether that's somewhere I could see myself long term. And I would say, again, I haven't ruled it out yet. And to, again, just to spend time with your family in person and sit around the dinner table with you guys was, I mean, it was just so wonderful. Of course, I became Tio Sam for a little while, which was quite funny. But yeah, just some of the best memories I've had. Everything from the road trip with you at the beginning of my time in Australia to just hanging with your family, the movie nights, all that was just incredible.
That was awesome. And the girls even I was like, I'm talking, and you are still Uncle Sam. It's not Spanish has definitely disappeared from this house since you've gone.
I
I
can
was like,
relate.
can you remember? But you are definitely Uncle Sam, and you still are. And when I said, "Oh, I'm talking to Sam tonight. I'm talking to Uncle Sam tonight." Oh, can we stay up? We want to say hello. Like you are still spoken about routinely in this house and the time that you spent here. So don't think that you've been forgotten. Obviously not from me, but the girls have certainly remembered you, and you've left a lasting impression on them as well, mate.
That's so good to hear. And funny anecdote that comes to mind is when Anna, knowing that I wasn't from Australia, but I was also saying some Spanish thanks to me, asked what language, as I'm speaking to her in English, asked what language I speak in my country. I'm like, English, English, don't worry. Must have been extremely confusing for some big-headed guy with a bunch of tattoos and a funny accent who's also breaking out some very broken Spanish. It's like, who is this alien at the end of my table? What is going on?
She comes out with
Great.
some crackers.
She's great. All right, I appreciate you, brother. Normally this is where I'd ask, where do you want me to send people? Your Instagram, any other resources? If people want to get in touch with you, learn more, what are we thinking?
Balanced by Adam. I have a website. I have an Instagram page. Again, if work comes my way, it does, but I'm really not looking for it to these days. So all I would say is if you want to jump on my Instagram and you're interested in GLP-1s, I'm just documenting my journey. That's all it is. I'm not asking anything of you. If you want to come and watch what that is and ask me questions about how I'm feeling personally or my opinions on things, I'm always an open book. I'll happily give that to you. But yeah, that's all it is.
Great. Again, I appreciate you, brother, a lot, both personally and then for coming on here and just dropping so much wisdom and giving so many insights into GLP-1s, which ideally we're gonna take. Oh, we hear a little. We're speaking of the girl. I do hope and I feel confident that we will continue to take these off of a pedestal as this bad taboo thing and instead educate people and support them with something. So again, I really do appreciate it.
Anytime, mate. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on as a three-time guest. And so if anyone ever catches up with that, I'll be sure to come back as number 4 because I want to stay out there as the number 1 guest repeat. So.
Yeah, keep it in the leaderboard. All right. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk soon.
Cheers.